Going live. Fuck it. We're going live. Fuck it. We're going live. Vigilante Wiz here on another episode with my buddy Slasher. I didn't do the episode, but Slasher McSplitter here. I love doing these streams with you, man. How you doing?
That's good, man. Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
Um, so the last worst, the worst was the gimmicks. It was all about horrible, horrible gimmicks, and this one's gonna be about a collection of horrible gimmicks, all into one group.
The infamous Dungeon of Doom.
The Dungeon of Motherfucking Doom,
I
led by
mean,
the Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan.
like Kevin Sullivan was, I guess, okay. I mean, he was fun. He was good at certain sections, but this whole thing,
Yeah,
like,
he was all right. He wasn't bad.
yeah. But like the whole thing, if I remember correctly from like different podcasts I heard, was just kind of a thing for like Hogan, right? Like they just like, okay,
Yeah, the Dungeon of Doom was a creation just so Hogan could have a new guy to beat every week. Yes.
yeah. But like the you're so even for that to work, like those guys have to all be cool in and of themselves. Like later on, they kind of had it with the NWO versus Sting, where
Hello,
like
Resolute Germ. Thank you.
Hell Resolute
Thanks for
Germ,
coming through.
where like the NWO was so cool and Sting was cool, so it was like it worked.
Oh, NWO was cool. Sting was cool. NWO Sting was not cool.
It ended shittily, but I mean, the ending was
No, I
terrible.
don't. I don't mean Sting when he joined the Wolfpack. I mean fake Sting,
Oh, fake Sting.
the one that used to just get his ass kicked every week.
Yeah, that was kind of corny. It was cool the first time, but then they just kept doing it and doing it. It's like, okay, we get it. It's not really Sting, and Sting's gonna come out and beat his ass.
Oh,
But like
and
the
by the way, I'm sorry. I gotta say something about the pro wrestling gimmick stream.
oh yeah,
I put I put a man in the thumbnail that I didn't even get to say a thing about because things kept getting sidetracked and I completely forgot. So shout out to Terry Taylor, the red motherfucking rooster. Your gimmick as the red rooster belongs in the terrible gimmick hall of fame.
yeah, yeah. We sure didn't. And I kind of thought about. I think I thought about that like after. Like I don't think we talked about
No, we didn't. But
Terry
shout out
Taylor.
to Terry Taylor.
Yeah. Such a bad gimmick. We forgot about it twice.
He had another bad gimmick after that too. He was the computerized man of the '90s.
That's silly. A lot of those gimmicks, like another gimmick that we didn't talk about. Speaking of computerized, man, what was the Future guys in WCW? It came from like 1999 or 2000, whatever year they came from.
Yeah. Okay,
Something dudes.
I remember those guys.
Both. No, I'm thinking of
They
two
said
different things.
they said they came from the future where Dusty Rhodes was the president, right? He's president of the
Yeah,
United
yeah.
States. Oh, you
Oh
blocked out
man.
so much of WCW. How could you block out so much of WCW,
Oh,
Resolution?
WCW was great.
I mean, yeah, it was good and bad.
Yeah, but to me it was fun. Like I don't know. I feel like WCW was kind of like the heart and soul of wrestling, good or bad. It was man, what was his future? Yeah, wrestling gimmicks, maybe. I'm looking for this stuff.
All right, there was a tag team called Techno Team 2000, but they were in WWF.
No, this
And
is
they had silver. They had like these silver jumpsuits and silver face paint.
I think I remember those guys, but this is not what I'm talking about. Maybe they were 80s guys. The New Breed, that's who the fuck they were.
Yeah.
New Breed, Chris Champion
One of
and
them was
Sean
Chris
Royal.
Champion. Yes, Chris
Yep.
Champion, the karate guy.
Yep. Dusty Rhodes was president. Lasertron was a real robot. They referred to the flux capacitor. Oh no, am I still on? Because I
what
just had
year
a
were
little.
what what year were they from?
They were from. They were. This is in 1986, but they were from 2002.
Oh, okay, so they were already post dated.
Yeah. So they're from 2002, but they were in 1986. And so yeah, that was a terrible gimmick, and that was a WCW gimmick as well. So yeah, oh no, it was
Well, it's
Florida
not like
champion wrestling team
WWF.
anyway,
It's
but
not
it was
like
NWA.
WWF was innocent of having awesome. They didn't always have awesome gimmicks in WWF.
Oh no, I mean a lot of gimmicks we mentioned were WWF gimmicks.
Yeah, yeah. Red Rooster was a WWF gimmick.
Yeah, it was. So yeah, there's tons of.
But the motherfucking Dungeon of Doom was kind of like it was like shitty gimmick peak in WCW.
WCW was a clear shit show. Even the 12-year-old me, man. I was a huge fan of like even before the NWO got there, like Diamond Dallas Page. Even when he had Kimberly, he was a heel. Um, Sting, bleach blonde Sting.
Blonde Buzz. I like blonde buzz cut Sting better than Crow Sting.
Yeah, I mean the Crow Sting the first year was really cool.
Yeah, it got
After
played
that,
out quickly. It got played out quickly.
and that's kind of now it's become like the defining Sting look. But the
I
very first
know.
year, it was. And that sucks because that it lost its impact by that because the whole point of Crow Sting was he was the bleach blonde,
Yeah.
happy go lucky, cheery Sting, and he was a cool character to little
Tassels on it, tassels and sparkles all over his jacket and shit.
man. People look at those things, but I was like a kid at the time. I don't know. Sheesh, I was born in '87, so if you guys can math, please do. But like yeah, like that was the shit to me. I was like yeah, tassels, colors. Super jack dudes. I'm like, yeah, cool.
No, but Sting was also, he was also the man in the ring,
Yeah, he was. Sting was popular. So when they made him a Crow Sting, it was like this cool thing. But then it was like, okay, now it's all he is forever and ever.
Yeah, Grumpy Sting. Now he's Grumpy Sting.
Yeah, I haven't watched the newer because I know he's back.
Oh yeah, he popped up in AEW.
Yeah, they can never.
And they had to have one of those cinematic matches.
Oh, is that what they did?
Like that Undertaker AJ Styles WrestleMania match.
Yeah, have a lot of people tried to copy that since because I haven't been keeping up with modern wrestling.
You're not missing anything.
I didn't think I was.
But all right. So
it got so terrible.
It
used to be terrible. Yeah, that was really dumb.
Going back to the Dungeon of Doom, there was a group before the Dungeon of Doom that started the Dungeon of Doom.
Mm-hmm.
It was Kevin Sullivan again. It was Kevin Sullivan, Earthquake, and Brutus Beefcake. And they were the three faces of fear. Okay, Brutus Beefcake couldn't use the name Brutus Beefcake, so they called him the Butcher, which was like, in WCW, he had 90 different fucking gimmicks and names and looks.
He had so many terrible gimmicks.
Yeah. Well, the first one, he was called the Butcher. I don't know why they stopped calling him that, but Earthquake came in, and his name was Avalanche, because he couldn't use the name Earthquake. But they got like a cease and desist for using the name Avalanche because it sounds too close to Earthquake, which is fucking stupid if you ask me.
Yeah, they probably could have fought that cease and desist if they wanted to.
Yeah. But they were doing. You find out back in the day, they were going at it behind the scenes in court over a lot of shit. WCW and WWF. They were even back when it was the NWA. It even goes back that far.
Yeah, because they went to court for like TV slots and all sorts of shit.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
there was Vince trying to block cable providers if they were willing to show WCW. If they were willing to show WCW, he was not going to show his event on the same fucking carrier,
yeah.
which is pretty fucking petty if you ask me.
And really, those carriers could have fought back with that. Like, hey, we can, because it's right now. Like, even 10 years after, it sounds unheard of that you would have a company hold up what you do with another company that's just as big or near as big. It's like imagine if like HBO said in the 90s, well, if you have Cinemax, you can't have HBO. It
Yeah,
sounds
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. If Showtime is like, yeah, if you're gonna show Stars,
Yeah, you
if
can't
Stars is on your,
because no cable
it's
company would listen. But I guess back then, we didn't have the corporatocracy, massive cable. Like there was no massive Comcast. Like, half the country has Comcast, or half the country has Spectrum, or
sounds
whatever
like
other.
it sounds like very shady business practices,
Yeah, it was super shady. It just sounds super
underhanded
shady.
tactics.
Yeah, like how could that even work? But it did. It did. That's how we get. That's how I guess that's how we led to Turner, and that's how we led to. That's how
And
honestly you end up with Hulk Hogan eventually leaving and coming over to get the Dungeon of Doom because you
yeah,
end up with all
yes,
this. Sting was always designed to be a
yeah.
counter
He
to a WWF top guy. Once Hogan
but
jumped ship,
yeah,
they wanted
Sting
him to be
was
Undertaker. Yeah,
they wanted Sting to be well. All right, well, not when he was Crow Sting, but when he was, blonde surfer flat top Sting. He was kind of
hmm
like Hogan and Warrior wrapped up in one for
yeah,
WCW.
yeah. That's a good observation, Resolute German. I think something was forever taken from him when Hogan jumped ship. Like he never, because it's really that's a very good point because he never got the respect like as a top guy because of that. Like everyone respects Sting, everyone loves Sting. He was great in TNA. Well, good at he was in TNA. I mean TNA's parts of it was good, parts of it
Oh
wasn't. Just
God,
like anything.
Did you ever see Heath Ledger Joker Sting in TNA?
I've seen like pictures of that, but like what the hell was that?
Oh God, yeah, I saw clips of it too. I wasn't
That
watching
was
TNA at the time, but I did see plenty of online
cringe,
clips of it. Oh good God,
cringe.
painful.
That's like one of those things where you see somebody who looks really 90s or something. Like it's just like, oh, what were you doing? What were you doing?
Oh no, I guess I dressed kind of '90s, but
Yeah, I
I'm
mean, I
also
had those shiny shirts and FUBU and shit.
not. I'm not. I'm not 62. But
Yeah,
Sting is what? I think Sting is like 62, 61.
Sting should stop wrestling. That's an addiction. Somebody needs to help him, man. Like, why you have
First
someone
of
like
all,
62?
I thought Seth Rollins crippled him.
Sorta. It really wasn't. They blame Seth Rollins. If you remember that match, there's a bump that he takes where he goes through the table, but they don't clear it out early in the match. And I really think that bump had a lot to do with it. Like, and then that bump plus the other ones later that Seth Rollins did, but I think they all kind of compounded. But
Okay, but
and plus 100 years.
Seth Rollins was injuring everybody at one point.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. Because didn't he break John Cena's nose like the next week?
He destroyed John Cena's. That wasn't even a pay per view. That was a fucking Raw. He like knee
Yeah,
blasted Cena, but for real, like a
because
scene
he
out of
was.
Kickboxer or something.
Cause
Cena was leaking.
yeah,
Cena's
yeah,
face
I
was
remember that picture.
leaking from that.
He was. He hurt somebody else too. There's another guy he hurt right around that era.
Uh, he he hurt Finn Balor.
Finn Balor, yep. Yeah, he
He
broke his shoulder
he powerbombed Finn Balor
first night.
into the guardrail.
That ruined Finn Balor's career, literally. Ruined it. He was
Night
getting pushed
one night one night inaugural champion.
yeah, he was supposed to be the first Universal Champion who knows what run he would have had, and who knows what that would have done for his trajectory as a wrestler. And he never ever got that popular. Like he never ever got close to that. Really, I mean, except that one Brock
No,
Lesnar match, I guess. But he never got close to that again. So
no,
literally, Seth Rollins ruined his
not even when
career.
he, not even when he came back. Not even when he came back.
Nothing. He never got close. I mean, he became like kind of as popular as anyone. But like, yeah, and well, Well, no, some doctor has. What is Sting doing in AEW? Has he
Yeah,
done matches?
he's in AEW. He had a cinematic match. I don't know if he's had any other matches, but at their
Okay,
pay-per-view, they had him and that guy, Darby
Darby
Allen,
Allen. Okay,
versus Taz's guys.
okay.
But it was just it looked like an action scene from a fucking CW or UPN show from like
Oh,
mid 2000s.
that sounds interesting. So the final deletion. I know we forgot about the Dungeon of Doom. We'll get to him. But like when I think about these cinematic matches, I think about the final deletion because that was kind of the first one,
Yeah,
and then they started doing them, and then
yeah,
WWE's tried because they did something with the New Day and the
yeah.
Wyatts, but
They
then
did the Wyatt compound match,
Ciampa,
whatever the fuck
yep.
it was.
Uh, but last WrestleMania with the Sting, Undertaker, and the Bray Wyatt, John Cena like unmatched or whatever.
Oh
That,
yeah,
that where it was like a fucking Metal Gear Solid
uh
cutscene.
huh. It was kind of funny. It was funny,
Yeah,
but it was stupid.
yeah, it was like a Psycho Mantis Metal Gear Solid cutscene, written by Smarks.
I remember he had
And
that scene where they're in the Saturday night's main event get up, like they had that background
yeah, yeah, yeah.
with Cena and Bray Wyatt, and then Cena's lifting weights, and then they sped up Cena lifting the weights, and his arms were tired after that.
Yeah. So just the one, Resolute Jones says, those cinematics are just movie clips. Yeah, they're just bad looking movie clips. They're not like done with real like good action choreography or anything. They're goofy. And like not that none of them
But
have been good.
they did do certain matches though. They did that Edge and Randy Orton one that they took them like 3 days to film, but it was like a match. It was like in the ring and they brawled to the outside, that type of shit.
Hmm.
And supposedly Edge got fucked up from that. It took them 3 days to film a match, and Edge got a bad injury from that.
Was that one where they were like in the gym and all the other stuff? Remember they were
Yeah,
fighting in the
yeah, I
gym?
believe that one. I believe it was that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't like that as much. I like the Undertaker, and like I said,
Yeah,
I even like the Bray
when
Wyatt
they
one.
did it from corporate, when they did it
Yep,
from that Undertaker one
W-
was all right. The Undertaker AJ Styles one,
yeah,
it
that
was
was
okay.
cool, and I thought parts of the Bray Wyatt one was just different. But the cinematic, like I don't know, wrestling needs fans. To me, what I would have done, the Last Man Standing, it was the Last Man Standing. Resolute Germ, Hell more with Kitty, hell. What I would have done with the whole wrestling, I would have went to a free state, which they did
I
there in
can't wait to
Florida.
see these.
Like, are they allowing fans in wrestling?
Um, no. Oh, hello,
Why not?
Moira.
But if they're in Florida, because aren't both companies based in
They're
Florida? Why
not
wouldn't they?
allowing them. They're not allowing them in the stands because they still have those fucking screens.
Mm-hmm.
They still have the screen set up and shit. And in AEW, they're allowing more people in.
Okay.
They are letting more people in AEW because I see that. But it
Yeah.
actually has
They
more
need to
money than
keep.
Vince too.
They need to keep doing that. They need to have as many, whatever, even if it's 25% capacity, whatever it is, the most amount of people they can get in. Because wrestling is just not the same without fans. It just
No, it's
isn't.
not.
Like it. And man, I really miss going to shows too. Like I didn't go to a ton, but I went to a few. You know, 'cause it was a pretty cool indie locally.
That's
So I was
Hugs
like,
back
man,
more than.
yeah, hugs, Mora. Yeah, but man, yeah, the
What did you
dungeon.
go to? You went to WWE shows?
Honestly, if it was WWE, Ring of Honor, and then we have an indie here that would bring people, like a lot of people, that you see. And see, I don't. I guess I could just say what city I'm in Charlotte, right? I'm in Charlotte. I've slightly doxed myself. Um, I'm in Charlotte, so like Big Swole is actually from here. So I saw her at Indies before
Okay.
she got before AEW was even a thing. I had saw her at Indies. Um, and so our indie,
Uh huh.
same with MJF. Before AEW was a thing, they would bring in MJF sometimes. So some of those our indie was a kind of a nice indie that you saw a lot of these wrestlers that ended up at AEW before AEW was a thing. So it was a cool indie. So you would see it was cool to go to. Um, so I was happy to watch
Yeah,
shows
that's
there
how.
whenever
Yeah,
they.
I went to indie shows. Of fucking before he was Cesaro, Claudio
Yeah,
Castagnoli, and him and Chris Hero were a tag team, shit like that.
yeah, yeah. I even remember I went to Ring of Honor. They had one of the pay per view here's when Adam Cole was still there, and I saw one of his last few matches at Ring of Honor there. So that was without shows, you can't see that. And that's something I do miss. I miss a lot of the live stuff. I really can't wait till they're done doing the psyop. I mean, pandemic. I mean, whatever.
Plan, Plandemic.
Yeah.
I can't say I've heard that one. That's a good one.
You haven't heard Plandemic? I'm surprised.
Nah, nah.
Oh
I'm
man,
gonna
yeah,
use it though.
Plandemic.
I'm gonna put that in my back pocket and use that one.
Yeah. Psyop, Plandemic. I'm sorry, I don't want to mess your channel up, man. Because people they yell at me
Yeah.
because I talk my shit and they're like, oh, what, you're not supposed to say that, which is crazy that we live in a world we can't just talk our shit. But, yeah, I can't wait till it's done because we can
Defy
watch that stuff.
is that what it was called? Defy.
No, locally here it's called no, Defy is was that Pacific Northwest, I think. That's like
Oh,
Seattle
okay.
or Oregon, because there's different indies. They're almost set up almost like territories in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
every
Uh
little
huh.
area has their own. Because it's like the five PWG. Um, I think Chicago had one. I can't. I'm not as high. I used to be so glued into the indie scene and so glued into wrestling. I just
Tommy
am not
Dreamer got
anymore.
it. Indie.
Yep,
Tommy
Tommy
Dreamer got
Dreamer.
it that he won. Yeah.
Booker T
House of
has one in
Hardcore.
Houston. House of Hardcore.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Booker T had one in Houston. A lot of people came through, and I can't remember that one either. Because a lot of
Well, he
wrestlers
has
that
a
came to that
school.
Houston one.
He has a school,
Yeah,
doesn't he? Doesn't Booker
it's
T
based
run a
off of his
school?
school, but he also had the promotion that went with it, and he would bring he ran it like any other promotion. It was still the school, but he also had wrestlers and wrestlers that came from that school from that promotion, and they're in the WWE and AEW and all that other stuff. So
I went to a couple of Evolve shows back when they were indie,
yeah,
not when they were owned by
yeah.
Vince.
Are they officially owned by him yet? Did he officially just buy him yet?
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure they are.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure they are.
because I've been friend they
Basically,
started to do stuff.
Junior NXT now. Isn't it basically Junior NXT now?
Man, do they need a junior NXT?
That's what I'm saying.
Really? They need to cut their roster down
And
badly.
build it back to one show. If you're in pandemic days, why have two champions and two different shows? Just make it one show
Well,
then.
unfortunately, because of this damn pandemic, they're gonna make so much more money because their ratings didn't drop off a cliff like other things. You know what I mean? So they're gonna make a lot of money when that comes time for the contract. So they're not gonna. Probably try to do more shows before they do less.
Well,
Because
I don't know.
yeah,
And they also have they also have the fucking England NXT.
NXT. Yep, NXT UK. They got NXT. I don't remember.
So
I think it was,
they're already spreading themselves too thin.
and then they got two main shows, and that's 5 hours of live TV plus
Thank you,
NXT. So
Mora.
really, you got
Thank you. I appreciate it.
hey, you got 7 hours of live TV. How the fuck each week you got to come up with 7 hours of live TV? Now I can stream more than 7 hours a week, talking shit, but I don't have fucking all the staff they need to get that show under, for the lighting, the ring.
And don't forget their
Now, yeah,
long
you
ass
do it in
pay
one
per
place.
views. Don't forget their long ass
Jesus.
pay per views.
Even doing it in one place like they've been doing it, it's still
Yeah,
you still
same
need
old
like
bullshit.
50 to 100 people to run it on top of the wrestlers, and it's just a mess.
All right. Speaking of this,
Yeah, let's get to the topic at hand.
speaking of
Dungeon
messes.
Dome, and they were indeed a mess. Just looking at this thumbnail, like goodness, they look goofy.
Yeah, but was that the point? Is that they wanted them to look them like characters from the 1960s Batman show?
Maybe I'm looking at this list. So everybody in WCW was in a Dungeon of Doom at one point.
All right. So are you with the Wikipedia list?
Yeah, I remember
Right,
Kamala,
including managers.
Jimmy Hart.
Yeah, well, some of them also weren't there for very long. But some of them
Glacier was
weren't
in
there
a
for very
Dungeon
long.
of Doom, and I don't remember that.
That when I saw that, I was like, when the fuck was Glacier part of this?
I think that's a work.
Okay,
That's not a shoot.
one
That's
man,
a work.
one man gang was part of them for a little bit.
Okay, I remember the Giant.
Big Bubba.
I remember Hugh Morris.
Big Bubba, aka Big Boss Man.
I do remember Big Bubba.
All right.
Who the fuck was Braun the Leprechaun?
That was kind of like the first.
That's made up.
Was that like the
Sarge.
first version
Sarge
of
Buddy Lee Parker? I remember Buddy Lee Parker.
Was Braun the Leprechaun like the first version of Hornswoggle? Oh, okay. Z Gangsta. Do you know who Z Gangsta is?
Who the fuck is that?
Fucking Zeus from No Holds Barred.
Oh, shit, Debo.
Yep. It's fucking Zeus.
Zeus / Debo / the guy in the Dark Knight that threw out the rest in peace.
Yeah.
He threw out the trigger in the Dark Knight.
The president from
Fifth Element.
from the Fifth Element.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, he wrestled one match in WCW. The Doomsday Cage match. Did you ever see the Doomsday Cage match?
Goodness, no, I don't remember. Like I thought, you think I would remember Z Gangsta. Maybe it was during I talked before the stream. Like cable would go on and off in our household. He must have came out when I didn't have cable. I do not remember Z Gangsta at all.
But I think he only had one match. I'm pretty sure he only had one.
Yeah, it looks
match
like looking at his Wikipedia, it looks like he only had one match.
Okay, all right, and this guy, the Ultimate Solution.
Who the fuck? All right, now I'm hitting up new tab to see who this guy is.
He's
Robert
Bane.
Swinson.
He's Bane from Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
The terrible green version of Bane.
Oh man, he died in that era. He was huge. And
he was chock full of roids.
6'4", 405 with like no body fat. Oh Lord. Yeah, human beings are not supposed to be this big like that. That's oh my God. Like back in the day, they just took steroids at such an insane rate. They had no clue. And they would just that's why those guys look so like superhuman big. That's why every wrestler is so jacked now, or jacked then. All the wrestlers look like regular people now. Like sometimes people make fun of them. It's like, well, what do you want?
You put Daniel Bryan next to the Warlord. The Warlord I remember that fucking guy. He couldn't even put his arms down at his sides. That fucking guy is like constantly walking around looking like someone put a voodoo curse on a He-Man figure, and now they have to live life as a human being.
I kind of remember the ultimate solution now that I'm like, I think I do remember the ultimate solution.
His other name was Jeep Swenson. It says.
Jeez, I'm trying to look up a picture of this motherfucker. He was huge.
Well, Zeus was a big motherfucker too.
Yeah, Zeus was a big motherfucker.
Okay. Yeah, Lex Luger was part of them.
I kind of do remember that. Because Lex Luger, before we had Big Show, Twitter's not. Oh, she fixed it. But before we had Big Show going back and forth as a heel and face, we had Lex Luger in WCW.
Yeah, Lex Luger was kind of that way too.
Yeah, he went heel and face a lot. And I'm just looking at this Ultimate Solution motherfucker. He's big as fuck. Like,
oh yeah,
holy shit.
And what did you say he was? 400 pounds?
400 pounds. And like,
can you bring up a picture of this fucking guy?
Oh boy. So I'm trying to find a non-Bane picture.
How tall was he?
6'4". He's like the damn juggernaut in real life. I'm trying to find a good because I was just looking at how big his head is.
You know who was another big motherfucker? Remember Scott Norton? That fucking guy looked like he would rip somebody's fucking head off and kick it down the block like a soccer ball.
Okay, let me share. Let me get my thing right. I got all these damn tabs open. I'm also on Amazon because I'm an idiot. I've already bought figures, so I'm trying not to buy more stuff. That's the problem. See, this stimulus is proving to me why socialism cannot work. Because you end up giving a bunch of people money and they do stupid shit with it because they don't have a value for it because they didn't earn it. I'm proving it I'm proving it myself. Because I just got money, so let me just no, motherfucker. I need to. That's why I luckily did get something like I'm get some crypto. I'll put some in the Edge wallet, so I can do that. Even though I don't understand crypto at fucking all.
Oh, and Hugh Morris was part of the.
Hugh Morris, I do remember Hugh Morris. Interesting thing about Hugh Morris because he was kind of cool. He was big, did a moonsault. But if you remember Goldberg Street, like the first match of note is Hugh Morris because like he did I think 1 or 2 matches before then, and then Hugh Morris hits his finisher and he just gets up from it, spears him. They do it so perfectly because they do Goldberg. He gets a jobber entrance, so he's already in the ring. That first match, and so Hugh Morris was he's that anecdotal. He's really the first guy on the street that I remember. It's such a great. Like WCW did a lot of things bad, but the way they booked Goldberg up until they fucked him up was pretty special, honestly. But yeah, this is how big this motherfucker was. Like near 400 pounds. There's another, just like massive fucking human being.
Jesus,
his biceps are literally.
All right. His bicep is the size of my whole skull.
Yeah. Like, look, it's bigger than her head. Don't do steroids, kids. He's nearly 400 pounds before. Yeah.
How old
he has to have
died? Let's see.
40. Because the heart can't deal with it. There's no way a human beings are not supposed to be this big, especially like your heart has to work so much harder to pump blood to all of that amount of muscle. So that's just insane. Like that's
all right. He died. He died in 97.
Yeah. Don't do steroids, kids, man. Just work out and just whatever happens with your body. You don't have to do this. He's a big motherfucker. But all right, I'll stop so I can kind of look at this list of. I do remember Jacqueline actually in it
What's up,
now. I think
Jens?
about Hellions. Ming,
All right, see,
obviously, I
I don't
remember.
remember. I don't remember. I don't remember Jacqueline in the Dungeon of Doom. When the
I
hell was
remember
she in
what
the Dungeon of Doom?
she started because it was her and Kevin Sullivan. She was like I don't know, she was like Kevin Sullivan girlfriend or something like that.
I see that she's on the list.
I remember her as Kevin, like um,
See, I
and she
guess
debuted.
I guess I wasn't watching WCW too religiously at that point. WCW, like I was telling you before we got on the air. WCW is very kind. It was a very tricky federation to follow
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
didn't have cable. If you didn't have
yeah, because
cable,
it
it was
was
very tricky federation to follow.
because it was only TBS and TNT. Even though I think they did have a Saturday morning show that was on like syndicated.
Yeah, here they
So
used
you
to mix it up. Sometimes it would be on in the morning, and other times it would be on at midnight. They would always fuck with the time slots.
oh Jesus. Like I was a Saturday morning here. They didn't fuck with the or not here, it was back in Detroit. But they didn't fuck with the time slots then. Um that's fucked up. That makes it very convenient to try to find it if they just switch the time slots. And I'm just looking at the chat. Mania will be half to 2/3 capacity. Well, that's cool. That's cool.
So they're gonna have. They're gonna actually have.
Fans, how much are those tickets gonna hit for though? Because they might try to make up for what they would get out of the half to 2/3 that they allowed.
And are they gonna make it a 2-day thing like they did last time?
Hmm. I think they might because I think they might have just standardized that 2-day thing. Yeah, I have no interest in Mania. I mean, I'll probably end up watching, I'm sure, but like I'm not following it. I don't care. It's just WWE was
I
already
don't
kind
either,
of
but
dead.
I don't either. But when I go to my friend's house, he wants to watch the pay per view. So I'm like, all right, let's watch the pay per view.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, pay-per-views are fun. It's just not a followable product anymore. They're fun to watch a few pay-per-views and kind of, but it's like the product isn't. It's not the same. Not that's not to say I was obviously talking about this Dungeon of Doom that everything in the past was just some great wonderland because clearly it was not. Because this
All
like
right.
look
So
just
also, if we're gonna talk about pay per views, what were we talking about before before we went on the air here?
oh yeah,
On top of the
jogging
Joe
my
Louis Arena.
yeah the great Joe Louis Arena in the greatest city of God's green earth, Detroit, Michigan. A pay-per-view that my family ordered for me as I kind of remembered. This Halloween Havoc '95. But I didn't see it all because I fell asleep during the Lex Luger Ming match. But I remember it.
Did
Um,
Lex Luger have that effect on you?
it was a 13-minute match with Lex Luger and Ming. What do you and it was a this DQ match. I'm not shocked that I went to
A
sleep during this
13
match,
minute
man.
Lex Luger match.
With me, I like Ming. I can't
Yeah,
imagine this was a
I
good
do
match.
too. I do too.
Maybe it was though, because maybe they just
I
beat
mean,
the shit
I
out of each
kind
other.
of do like Lex Luger back in the day too. I'm not gonna lie.
He was fun and he was almost like the Ultimate Warrior. If the match is under 5 minutes, it's cool to see him put
Yeah, but
somebody
you
in a
know what?
torture rack.
I will say that Lex Luger had more in the gas tank than Ultimate Warrior did when it came
Yeah,
to being in the ring. Lex Luger could fucking run circles
actually.
around Ultimate Warrior.
Oh yeah, like yeah, because he wasn't blown up 2 minutes in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, but he didn't have anything to do with all it. Like it wasn't like you were going to see. Like sometimes he would have an interesting match if he had the right opponent. Like if we had Ric Flair or
Yeah,
a
yeah,
Diamond Dallas Page
yes,
or
yeah,
somebody like
yeah.
that. He could have a cool match.
Someone kind of to guide him through the match. Yeah,
Yeah, he needed to have a really good
a
wrestler
Bret
to
Hart
make
or somebody.
Bret Hart the great example. Yeah, those type of guys he could have a good match with. But just
Remember the Lex Express? Holy
I
shit!
remember the Lex
So
Express. I
fucking
wanted to
stupid.
see. I wish the Lex Express would have came to Detroit. I would have just been so excited for the Lex Express. The Lex Express was the shit. I mean, that was such. They tried to be Hogan so bad,
Yo,
so
so
bad.
bad, so bad. It's like so blatant too. It's like Hogan's gone. Oh shit! Here comes Hogan Part Two.
Yeah, it just proves Vince doesn't change because he's like everybody has seen that part two. It's the same thing. But yeah, this pay per view, this Halloween Havoc '95, uh, th- jump off the Joe Louis Arena. How did they do that? By the way, the giant falling off the
You
side
talk.
of the building. Yeah, we should probably pull that clip up.
They filmed it the night before.
Um,
If I could play the clip without getting popped, sure, why not?
oh, would you get popped? Do you think? Oh, yeah, it's WWE now. That's right.
I don't know. Well, yeah, if it's from them directly, yes, then I would
Yeah,
definitely get fucking.
but I'm sure like I don't know how they like. Have you ever played anything that's a clip of an old match? Well, we played that clip of Vader doing moonsaults once.
Yeah,
So, because
Vader, by
certain
the way,
companies.
who was also in the Dungeon of Doom at one point. It says
Now that I totally do not remember, and I
same,
probably should.
same. I don't remember it either.
Okay, let me see. Let's see if we can pull. Like if it looks like if it's, I'm not gonna do it if it's a WWE looking clip, but if it's something where it's like fan made or something.
Oh yeah, they didn't come after you for that Vader moonsault video, right?
No, no, they didn't.
Because I remember you had that it was like a highlight reel of Vader doing a moonsault.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think most of them he was landing on Davy Boy Smith too.
Yeah, and then a couple of them were brutal looking, like super brutal.
Oh, he was a brutal motherfucker in the ring.
Yeah, he was huge.
Um, did you ever see this guy Loch Ness?
I don't know who the hell he was, man. I saw this. I saw
Uh,
it in the Wikipedia. I'm like,
I
man,
believe he was 600 pounds,
that doesn't seem healthy.
6'11", 685 pounds.
Holy shit, that sounds insane.
Yeah, let's see how old he was when he died. 52. Oh wow, he kind of he kind of had a pretty good life for a 52-year-old at that size.
Oh man, I gotta. Okay, I can't really find this clip, so he must have got it off the internet. Like I was thinking if I can find it easily, it doesn't look like I can. I can see they have the full match as on WWE YouTube, but
Oh
I'm not
yeah,
gonna
I
do
won't. I
that.
will not try to show that at all.
Yeah, so there's no point in that. But I want to see this Loch Ness motherfucker. That sounds. The Dungeon of Doom, basically for anyone who hasn't just coming in. Oh, in excess did not tell it off seriously enough when he laughed
Oh,
at
Loch Ness?
Loch Ness.
Is he talking about this guy Loch Ness?
Maybe giant haystacks. Okay, yeah, he was a
Yeah, I
British
guess he
dude. I
was.
think.
I guess he was kind of like Mabel, Viscera.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
he was kind of that
So
sort of guy.
yeah. Oh, so he couldn't have been 6'11". He's
Oh,
tall. He
Lex.
might be 6'8", 6'9".
Oh, he's talking about.
Lexus.
Oh, he's
Oh,
talking about
Lex.
Lex. All right.
Okay, so accidentally I found the biggest wrestlers of all time, and these motherfuckers are massive. Let me see. I've never seen 658-pound dude named Hornswoggle and Hillbilly. The
What?
things that because I'm looking for this Loch Ness guy, and it just
His name
bring up
is
heavy.
Hornswoggle and Hillbilly.
Yeah, look
I
at
know.
this. This
Oh shit!
he's an indie wrestler in the wonderful world of indie wrestling. So
Wait, this dude exists now?
I don't know if he's still around. This is just the WWF old school site. This is of a couple years ago, so he was around at least a couple years ago. Uh, yeah, this guy. He's the hornswoggling hillbilly Haystacks Calhoun Jr. Sheesh. Oh no,
All
I
right,
guess he's
that was
from the
another big.
'90s.
That was a. That,
Haystacks Calhoun was big. Yeah, he was a big guy from
Haystacks
there.
Calhoun was another. Calhoun was another big dude from back in the day. He was kind of like Loch Ness.
Yeah, so apparently this guy wrestled for JCW, the Lovely Juggalos. So I know this is off, but this is what happened. I just looked up Loch Ness. I think this is the actual guy though, this giant haystacks guy. So he was 6'11", 400 pounds. He was a pretty big guy. He died at 52 though.
Big motherfucker.
Yeah.
Big motherfucker right there.
Do not remember him in WCW though.
I believe he was there for a cup of coffee.
Yeah, that must have been it. I do not remember.
I don't believe he was there for very long. Cause like, all right, looking through the Dungeon of Doom, like you see that it says fucking Glacier in '96 and '97. I don't ever remember seeing Glacier.
That's why, like, is this list? Did somebody make this shit up and just start adding names, or did this really happen?
It says Conan from '96 to '97.
That I feel like
maybe I just wasn't watching. Yeah, maybe if I would have seen WCW from week to week at this point, then maybe I would have seen it.
Like Conan was there for a cup of coffee. Like he obviously was WCW longer, but I do remember him in the Dungeon of Doom for like a cup of coffee, maybe a little longer than a cup of coffee.
All right, I'm just gonna count, including managers, up until it says Indies Dungeon of Doom members. I want to count and see just how many people were affiliated with the Dungeon of Doom. So we have the Master, which is that dusty old guy in the middle of the thumbnail, who was Kamala's manager also in the '90s and in the '80s and WWF. All right, Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan, 1, 2, Kamala, 3, Lex Luger, 4, the Yeti, 5, Jimmy Hart, 6, the Shark, 7, Vader, 8, Zodiac, 9, Giant, 10, Hugh Morris, 11, Barbarian, 12, Conan, 13, Max, with 2 X's. What was I at? 14. I was at 14, so that's 15.
No, you were at 13. He's 14. Max is 14. Okay. Glacier's 15.
Glacier. Big Bubba, 16. Braun the Leprechaun, 17. One Man Gang, 18. Z Gangsta, 19. Ultimate Solution, 20. Loch Ness, 21. Jacqueline, 22. And then after that, it goes into independent circuit, but we're not going to count that bullshit.
Yeah. So Gangrel was in there and the independent like that.
I see. Crazy. Yeah, and the Wall.
The Wall. Who was the Wall? That sounds familiar.
The Wall was in WCW. He was a big motherfucker in WCW. Yeah. He was like a big white guy, but he was dressed like Mr. Hughes. You remember Mr. Hughes?
I do remember Mr. Hughes. I don't remember Mr. Hughes wrestling. I just remember him looking big and standing outside.
He used to wrestle with his sunglasses on.
Yeah. You know what? Now I think that is kind of familiar. Because he had like suspenders and like a he
Yeah, he
wrestled
had
in the
that
suit
typical.
pants.
He had that typical bodyguard look. Yeah,
Yeah,
he had the black. He had the black gloves, the white shirt, and the tie.
he would just look like
Okay,
angry the whole time.
but all those members in the Dungeon of Doom. This is our. This is why they're looked at as one of the most laughed upon stables in the history of pro wrestling.
And looking at this, you see WCW will repeat this same issue with the NWO of having too many fucking members.
Yeah, but at least the NWO sold merchandise and kept interest in the product.
Yeah,
You
they
can
were
give it at least
cool,
that
but
much.
you can. I'm just saying that same
But yeah,
mistake.
they did
Yeah,
beat it.
it
Yeah,
was
they
great. I
did beat
love
a dead
NWO.
horse. They did
Yeah,
beat a dead horse.
if they would have kept the NWO under 10, I think it would have been perfect. Like 10, maybe around. Some people say 6. Oh my god, it's okay to have a few extra. Giant Haystacks is a British
Yeah,
guy.
John British.
Shout out to the plucky Brits.
Okay, so there's all those members of the Dungeon of Doom. Okay. Who do you think any time at any point that's not on the list of who is in the Dungeon of Doom? Who do you think would have been a good member of the Dungeon of Doom? And first of all, I don't like Jimmy Hart as a manager for the Dungeon of Doom. Jimmy Hart is such a not fitting manager of a stable like the Dungeon of Doom.
Yeah, I think that was just he's associated with Hogan, so you need somebody to turn.
Yeah,
So there,
yeah.
the old time wrestling gimmick. So when I think of the Dungeon of Doom, I think of Taskmaster Kevin Sullivan because he was kind of the leader. He's the only really central figure that I think is there the whole time. I may be wrong, and so I'm thinking of like who would fit. Does it have to be wrestlers from that era or just any wrestler?
Oh, yeah, and or any gimmick that they had at any point.
Who would have fit that wasn't in it? I mean, shit, half of the world was. You know who might have fit? Even though in '95 was he already in W? No, he was in ECW. Cactus Jack might have fit.
Yeah,
But he
yeah.
was in ECW at this time, I believe.
Yeah,
Because
you
he had
know what?
left
He would have.
WWE. He might have
Plus,
fit.
he
And that would have
also,
been that might have been actually interesting to see how
he
Mick
also used
Foley
to
and
roll with
Hogan.
Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah.
He also used to roll with Kevin Sullivan in WCW, so there's a connection there already.
Yeah, that's probably the only that would have been interesting just to see Cactus Jack and Hulk Hogan in the '90s. I think that would because that's such a difference in styles. That would have been
It would
pretty
have been
interesting.
like a 15-minute match of Hogan just punching him and kicking him. And
Like I wondered, Foley would have probably got Hogan to throw him through something though, because he would always like we know him from the '90s doing shit, but like if you remember in that era, like Vader did that power bomb on the fucking cement. And that was Mick Foley's
yeah,
idea. So he
yeah.
would have gotten Hogan to like leg drop him off. He would have
And his
gotten Hogan to do some crazy
and, it,
shit in this match.
and his head like bounced too. I remember
Yes,
seeing
it's
that landing on that
brutal.
powerbomb. The camera angle was perfect for that.
Yes, it was such a brutal powerbomb. Oh my god, it's disgusting. Some of the shit Mick Foley would do, but that's what he did. So Hogan would have it'd been a lot of punching, but he would have he would have had that moment.
What would you say about Sabu in the Dungeon of Doom?
Sabu would have been great too.
He was in WCW at that point.
Was he?
He actually was in Yes, he was in WCW for a matter of months.
Oh, you're right. He was because he had to come back to ECW. They welcomed him. That was one of the first welcome back chants. When he came back, I mean, I'm sure it may not have been the first, but back then there was no internet to know if some house show or some indie show did a chant.
Hello.
So that welcome back was kind of
games,
famous.
movies, comics, or us.
Hell Games, movies, comics, or us. I like that name.
You know what? Paul Bearer as a manager of the Dungeon of Doom would have been better than Jimmy Hart.
I agree 1,000%.
Paul Bearer would have been a dope manager for the Dungeon of Doom. Or like Father James Mitchell. There you go. That guy would have been
Yep,
perfect.
Father James Mitchell would have been good as well.
Okay, there you go. Abyss. Abyss was perfect for the Dungeon of Doom.
Abyss is good. A name just popped in and out of my head. And I can't think.
All right. Do you remember Mordecai?
Mordecai. Oh, Mortis is the name. It popped in my head. Mordecai.
Yeah.
But Mortis would have worked.
How did? Yeah.
He was there, wasn't he? As a different gimmick.
That's what I'm saying. How is Glacier a part of the Dungeon of Doom, but Mortis isn't?
He might have even been Mortis at that time. No,
yeah,
he was Mortis.
Exactly. He was there to be specifically Glacier's enemy. So. Oh, all right. Do you also remember when they brought in Adam Bomb to be Wrath and Mortis for the tag team?
I do remember that. He was a part of Flock instead.
Who, Mortis?
As Canyon, I remember he was the Flock. I'm looking at.
Yeah, but he had a huge war going on with Raven before they joined forces, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I just remember that whole angle, I should say, of the Flock. Now I'm looking at it.
There you go. WCW, you dropped the ball because Mortis would have been better for the Dungeon of Doom.
Especially because the whole reason you have a Dungeon of Doom is to give Hogan something to do, right? It's to make sure that Hogan has a new bunch of wrestlers to bury.
Super villain weirdo to beat up every week. On the way to the super monster weirdo in the group, right?
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, the Yeti. Yeah, he was a part of that, I guess.
The Yeti.
The Yeti. So they like the problem was, and I guess you got to kind of give Vince credit. I mean, is that they didn't have anybody like new. A lot of these names are names that Vince even put up to, like Kamala. He had already fought in WWE.
Okay, wait.
Obviously, Z Gangster was Zeus.
The Shark. The
Shark.
Who was Earthquake?
Oh yeah, the Shark. Yeah, Earthquake. So a lot of these are retread. The Giant is new, but he's basically doing the Andre Giant thing over.
Okay, so, yes, the Giant was brand spanking new. That dude. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that's the only real new. The Barbarian. Yes, the Barbarian was newish, but like you need if you're going to fight Hogan, like when Zeus as Zeus the first time, it was like, whoa, who the fuck is this big guy? Like everybody when they first fought him in WWF, they came out as completely new characters at the time.
This was what I was saying. Like if you saw them somewhere else, you're like, oh, this is what's his face from WCW, or what's his face from World Class. It's like.
Yeah. Oh, this is Red Rooster from World Class to each other.
I knew who Ravishing Rick Rude was before I saw him on WWF television. So
yeah, because he was already an NWA WCW guy, and so that impacts either positively or negatively the fact that you've seen a lot of these matches over. It's like, well, it was cool the very first time people saw Kamala the Ugandan Giant in the 80s, but now it's the 90s. And he's a part of this group. And it's just like, what do you do? Like, you need new people. I think who do they have? Who are some potential stars they had in WCW that were bigger guys at that time? Like Vader makes sense, even though I don't remember it. Ming, I guess. But none of these guys are like supposed to be like this. Was Psycho? Where was Psycho Sid at this time? Or Sid Vicious, Sid, Justice, whatever. Sid.
He was bouncing left. He was bouncing back and forth between WCW and WWF at one point. I remember.
Yeah, he's a good guy that could have been, but then again, still a retread. That's the thing.
Yeah, because they already done it
All right, then
in
WWE,
WWF. They already did it.
WWF. So that's the thing, and that's why I'm looking at this group. It's either a bunch of people I don't know or somebody already fought in WWF. You're like, oh, is Hulk Hogan the Big Boss Man again? Instead, now he's Big Bubba. Okay, is Hulk Hogan and Zeus from the '80s again? Just like what was it, No Holds Barn? Except now he's Z Gangster. It's
Hey,
like
Vigilante,
who
give
did?
me 1 minute. Let's keep. Yeah, just
Yeah.
go ahead. Keep talking.
Okay, I'll keep
Give me one
rambling
minute.
and vamp a little bit. But that if you're looking at what the issue was with the Dungeon of Doom, um, outside of having too many members, outside of having no direction, it's just a bunch of guys who who either shouldn't have even been in a group, or a bunch of guys that Hogan already fought before under a different name. Yeah, Zeus was technically, you're right, Jen. Zeus was not really a wrestler; he was an actor. But I mean, if you really look at a lot of those '80s guys, even the guys who were wrestlers, um, like no, there's really great wrestlers in the '80s. There's really good wrestling matches from the '80s. Don't get me wrong, but especially in WWF, a lot of it was just like who's a super big motherfucker, and have them as far as the main events. They would have the good wrestlers on early. That's where you had the rockers and the tag teams. Actually, in the '80s, the tag teams is where you saw the good matches. Back then, that's where you had the Hart Foundation, the Rockers, the British Bulldogs. Um, but the main event, they would just pick, a big guy. So yeah, Zeus is not really a wrestler, but even somebody, um, like I'm trying to think of what was good. I mean, even Kamala, I rest in peace, brother Kamala, you got a giant. Um, he was, yeah, he's obviously a wrestler, but it's not like he was doing the technical matches that Bret Hart and they would have done, or anybody else, or Ricky the Dragon Steamboat of that era. It wasn't like you were getting that type of match out of Kamala. So yeah, Zeus was not a wrestler. That's very much true. But that was almost not the point. It was just, here's a big cool character.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Um, that's what
Sorry.
WWE did. Oh no, you're cool. I was just talking to Jens because he's right. Zeus was not a wrestler, but a lot of those guys, like I was saying, weren't really wrestlers. They were wrestlers, but they weren't. You weren't seeing like
Zeus was
technical
actually a
master.
terrible wrestler.
Yeah,
Zeus was a very terrible wrestler.
yeah, he was. But there was a lot of terrible wrestlers that they just pushed him.
He had a dope look. I'll say that much. That motherfucker.
Dope look. He
The
looked cool.
motherfucker was
That's
like
all.
a maniac. Yeah. That's all people bring.
Yeah, Ultimate Warrior is the biggest example of that. He was a big guy slamming people. That's all people want to see. That's all people want to see sometimes. Like, you just want to see big motherfuckers do shit. Because they're big, and it's fascinating to watch big motherfuckers throw each other around. That's one of the biggest draws of wrestling.
Okay, so thinking of members that would be fitting for the Dungeon of Doom. Hmm. Uh, I'll say. Hmm. Like, all right, even if it's a scrubby gimmick, I guess you could
Hmm.
say some of them would be fitting just for the Dungeon of Doom, right?
Yeah. Be a terrible gimmick.
So, I just had this dude's. Uh, oh, no, I lost it already because I'm trying to think, but I'm confusing people that were already in the Dungeon of Doom.
Yeah, I'm just looking at a list. You know what? Who could have? Just as a group, I think the Flock. Even though
Yeah, they would have been good for the Dungeon of Doom.
yeah,
Okay, Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake does work. He does work. I mean, kind of Kevin Sullivan kind of tried to be Jake the Snake a little.
Jake the Snake would have been good for the Dungeon of Doom.
Yeah.
Even as like if like if he would have switched gimmicks in WCW, like even as Mankind, like when he was
Mm.
original Mankind,
Yeah,
when he was
original
crazy,
Mankind.
ripping his hair out of his own head.
Yeah, I miss that Mankind because that's kind of forgotten. That first year and a half when he was just super crazy and that was the whole
Yeah,
gimmick and you didn't know
I
anything
thought that
about him.
was I liked that better than the Sacco bullshit.
Yeah, that Mankind, you know what? And honestly, that version of Mankind was booked stronger.
Yeah, yeah,
He was booked like a serious because even when he
indestructible,
was
indestructible maniac.
yeah, because he didn't win a title in that era, but he would be a main eventer most of the time. It was either like Undertaker or Shawn Michaels or somebody.
All right, Kane. Kane would have been
Kane.
good for the Dungeon and
Kane would
Doom.
have good. I haven't said the name Undertaker because I was just like, nah, Undertaker is such a
That's kind
unique.
of too obvious, right?
It's obvious. Plus, Undertaker himself is such a unique guy. It's like he's only. It's hard to imagine Undertaker with anything other than what happened with him.
Okay, so what it would have been. All
Kane
right,
would have been interesting.
like switch the booking and the companies and the wrestlers and shit, right? So it would
Yeah.
have been actually cooler if, say, they took a Dungeon of Doom type stable and put it against the Undertaker after Paul Bearer betrays the Undertaker.
Yeah. That would have all honestly made sense. They kind of tried that because they had like
Yeah,
um
Paul Bearer with Kane and
Kane and
Mankind and
Mankind.
Vader. Yeah, he was managing
Yeah,
Vader at one point too. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, they did kind of try that. But then, like right after that, Mankind started to turn into Mick Foley.
yeah.
Not too long after that, so I kind of killed that. And I like Mick Foley version of Mankind. The Sacco. I like it, but he wasn't. He was a much goofier character, even though he won the title I think twice, maybe three times, going
Uh,
back and forth with the Rock.
Great Muda. I think Great Muda would have been good for the
Great
Dungeon
Muda
too.
would have been great. Yeah,
Because that dude was that. Even though that guy at one point was supposed to be a bad guy, the crowds
yeah.
fucking loved him.
Yeah, he's one of those first guys to like get over purely on wrestling, like purely on in ring, and it's just like, wow, look at this shit.
Well, he had the dope look too, though.
He had a super cool look. He just looked cool, and his matches were really good, and so he just kind of was like just like one of like WCW was really good for like cult beloved wrestlers, and Great Muta was one of the first ones I remember where just people just liked him, and then there was almost no real like he just was cool. And he was kind of a lower key character. But he did have his big moments, but he was kind of a lower key character, and he was just cool. Like in a similar way, how some like you talk about Mr. Perfect being your favorite wrestler, but Mr. Perfect was never pushed as the guy. Great Muda, even though it was a
No, he
much
was never
smaller
pushed as
window,
a guy.
it was a similar thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, not as big of a platform at the time because
Yeah,
NWA wasn't shit compared to. I mean, like, yeah, as a wrestling fan, you watch it, you love it, but like monetarily, WWF was killing
uh,
them.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, you might have like Ric Flair and stuff, and like what NWA was, but it's not like it was the same. Like there was a clear distinction of like here's number one, and there's a large gap, and then they're number two. But I mean, and then again, it's kind of hard to remember, like because overall wrestling was so much more mainstream that being the number two wrestling company in the late '80s has much more. Like it wouldn't shock me if like whatever NWA was doing. I mean, obviously there's a pandemic, but like if the NWA
You said that word
keep
again.
popping you with the pandemic word. But like if the NWA of the '80s or whenever they were WCW of the '90s, which people look at this dark age, wouldn't shock me if there was more interest in those wrestlers and like they did better ratings in the wrestling now. It would not shock me if because I just feel like wrestling now is so like so much lesser.
uh, that not just wrestling.
Yeah,
A lot of forms of
everything.
entertainment. A lot of forms of entertainment are
Yeah,
inferior to
But I mean, a lot. Yeah, I would almost argue all. Literally every form of entertainment is worse. Like
It's getting that
notably
way.
worse.
It's
Music
getting
has
that way.
been worse for years. TV and movies are terrible. Video games are the only exception to that. Not that there aren't great games, obviously in the 80s and 90s. Still classic games, but you're still at least like great games are still being made. Like Ghost of Tsushima is a classic game and it came out last year. So there's still great classic stuff being made. And you don't I mean I'm sure there's a classic wrestling match in AEW where they do a trillion flips. But like there's not classic matches and shit like that, classic moments in wrestling on
There's not
the same
classic
regular basis.
characters. There's not
No.
classic characters anymore. In the Attitude Days, their mid card guys, or the Attitude Days mid card guys, are more memorable than some of their main event guys these days.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would take the Attitude Mid card over both AEW's and
Yes,
WWE's main
yes,
event scene. Don't add me.
yes, yes.
I'm telling you, there's none of these wrestlers have gotten the pop Scotty Too Hotty did to do the worm.
Al Snow.
Or Al Snow, even Al. You're right. None of them got the pop that Al Snow would get when it's like, what does everybody want? Nobody now could even get that pop. He was not even where it's close to a top guy.
Steve Blackman.
Steve
Like
Blackman,
fucking the Lethal Weapon, Steve Blackman.
Lethal Weapon,
Yeah,
Steve
that dude.
Blackman.
Like, really, like that. I guess by today's standards, that dude would have been like a 2-time world champion already, right?
Like I'm like Steve Blackman is kind of the prototype for what they are today. Just guys with no personality at all. Even though they like that was his gimmick that he had no personality. They made it his gimmick.
His intensity in the ring was his personality.
Yeah. And that was cool. But now everybody has that everybody has Steve Blackman's gimmick now. That's the gimmick. Oh, he's intense. He's a good in ring guy. Motherfucker. Like, what is this character? Who is he? What does he do? He does flips like everyone else. Oh, okay. I've never seen someone do a flip in a super kick before.
I still can't believe Great Khali was a world champion at one point.
Was he a multiple time champion? I can. It's Vince.
No, I think they only
once.
gave it to him once. I think so, yeah.
But and I'm not knocking flippy shit. I like Kenny. My name is slightly based off Kenny Omega and Corliss Williamson, because his name's Kenny Omega. It's like Kenny is the first name, it's normal, and then the last name is weird. So that's why Vigilante. It's not a real first name, but that's my first name, and then Williamson's.
All right, I don't mind the flippy shit either, but remember whenever people used to wrestle. Remember people used to wrestle differently. Like,
yeah,
not everyone did moonsaults and super kicks.
Yeah.
First of all, don't get me started on a super kick. I'm so goddamn sick of seeing the super kick.
They've ruined that move. That move when Shawn Michaels used to in the spear, Jesus. When Shawn Michaels did the super kick, the match was over.
Yeah.
Yeah, have the moments where maybe a Triple H kick out, but you remember those times. It was like, no, it's over. Super kick has been hit. We're done. A super kick is like the first move in the match. They turned it into the DDT.
Yeah.
It's just a move that happens.
Yeah. The DDT is another one.
Hell, even a power bomb. That's not a finisher anymore. It's a suplex.
A power bomb is the power bomb is basically the equivalent of a regular scoop slam back in the 80s.
Yes.
These days. Meanwhile, I remember the power bomb was like one of the most dreaded moves in wrestling. After fucking Nash almost killed Big Slow with it.
Sure.
Fucking.
He had hit it with him. He had hit him with it once, but that second time.
Yeah, I know. He did hit it. I did see. And the funny thing was, after he hit him with it successfully, without Big Slow getting crippled, like Nash went back on the ropes and started holding his stomach like he had a fucking hernia. It's like you could tell that took all his energy to do that.
Yeah, they shouldn't even try it a second time because Big Show is too huge, and he doesn't. there's no way he can help Nash. You know what I mean? He's not athletic enough to
Big
flip
Show
like
was
that.
actually he was nimble at one point though.
But like
He
but for
was
how big
he.
he's athletic, he is nimble. But I'm just saying, like you have to basically do everything if you're going to be that big, and there's no way he can do that.
So I
Like
guess
he
we
would
could
have to
say
be.
that. Would you say that he's the greatest member of the Dungeon of Doom?
Yeah, well, him or Vader, but like that actually I remember as a member of the Dungeon of Doom, it would be him.
Yeah, he was. He was he was like the big reveal, right? Well, other than the
Yep.
Yeti, other than the
Yeah.
Yeti.
Yeah, he's the only one that mattered really. Like out of the entire Dungeon of Doom, he's the only character that really fit what they were trying to do, which was give Hogan a new threat and introduce something new, and that worked. It was him. Um, and she wanted the title super early in his career, honestly, didn't he?
I
Or am
think
I
it was
making that up?
one of his very first matches.
Yeah,
I don't even think it was just in WCW. I think professionally, like I think this guy might have only wrestled one or two matches on the Indies before he got that break in WCW,
yeah,
which is absolute batshit insane.
insanity. Okay, so I'm looking at his Wikipedia. So it says he worked at various jobs like bouncing, bounty hunting, and all this other stuff. And he met Hulk Hogan, and I guess is that how he got? Oh, I guess he got a deal at WWA, like a small town indie, and he tried to get to WWF, but I guess they didn't. Pat Patterson didn't pay any attention to it, and
He thought he
Vince
might have
got
had
pissed.
another giant. He thought he might have had another giant Gonzalez on his hands, huh?
Well, I guess he thought it was Kurgan, and so he just didn't pay any attention to it.
Oh,
And then when he
Kurgan.
went to WCW, yeah, that's when he got Big Show. I'm looking at this right now because he's Big Show, the Giant, whatever. He got Big Show's tape, like audition tape, and he didn't watch it because he thought he was Kurgan. He's like, I don't want to see Kurgan's audition tape.
He didn't watch it because he thought it was Kurgan. Yet
Yeah,
years later, they hire Kurgan.
they end up hiring
Yet
him.
years
Yeah,
later, they fucking hire him.
but he didn't realize he fucked up until he was in WCW, and then Vince is like, "Who the fuck is that?" And he's like, "Oh, we got this tape. I forgot." Um, he made his in-ring professional debut in Halloween Havoc and for the championship, and
Either way,
yeah,
he
because
was handed shit on a silver platter. Like
yeah, he made his debut. It was his debut match in WCW. He won the title.
he was basically he was handed the keys to the fucking kingdom, like coming into the pro wrestling business.
Golly, has there ever been a wrestler to be pushed that fast in their career?
Not
No,
even
it can't be, right?
Goldberg, bro. Not even
Not even
Goldberg.
Goldberg,
Not
not
even
Kurt
Brock,
Angle,
dude. Not
not
Kurt Angle.
Brock.
Not Brock. No.
Because
Wow.
like even Brock, who won like he's won his title his first few months in WWE main roster. He was in
Yeah, they
OVW.
had a build, but they also had a build up to it. You know,
Yeah, and I was like, he had
it
2 or
wasn't
3
here. This is
months.
your third match. This is your third match ever. Here's the title. No, they
Yeah.
had Brock building it up before he won the
Yeah,
title.
because he won the King of the Ring.
Yeah.
He beat a bunch of people. Remember, he beat up the Hardy Boys when he first came in, both of them at the
Yep.
same time.
Yep.
Won the King of the Ring. He had things on his resume leading up to that Rock match at SummerSlam, where he won the title. Was like a whole, and they built that match perfectly. How
This
they did it.
motherfucker is just like, I'm in the Dungeon of Doom. he just comes in, he's like, hey, I'm in the Dungeon of Doom, and I'm big.
Yeah, and he just gets handed the title on a cheap way because he won by DQ, and they made a stipulation that he could lose the title.
You think that was Hogan's choice?
Oh, of course, doesn't work for me, brother.
DQ,
That's
brother.
DQ, brother. and nullify the title afterwards, brother, and then do a battle royal, brother. I don't want to just take the pin, brother. Yeah,
This is Hulkamania, dude.
yeah, Hulkamania.
Listen here, Jack.
I wish sometimes like wrestling. How many wrestlers throughout history got stupidly buried because of either Hulk Hogan or Triple H or just whatever super egoed out top guy who just pinned a bunch of people? Like, what if
There's a
somebody
yeah,
said,
yeah. If if you hear any of these shoot videos from a lot of these older wrestlers, you get to
yeah,
hear some stories about who did what to who.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But certain guys' names just come up a bunch. Hogan's one of them.
Yeah, yeah. Hogan is definitely one of them. Triple H is another.
Triple H and Kevin Nash went for
Kevin Nash.
WCW is one of them.
Although the funny thing is, I fucking Kevin Nash. Like I don't understand how he would do that. That motherfucker used to lose quite a bit.
He did. I think Kevin Nash gets a little bit more blame than he deserves because, like, a lot of people just blame Kevin Nash for Goldberg losing, and it's like, well, he did like Kevin Nash wasn't as quite as selfish as people remember. Because you're right. I remember him losing quite a bit, and I remember him actually being that Wolf Pack. Like, he was super popular in the Wolf Pack, and he
Yeah,
didn't really hold the title outside of that Goldberg
the,
win.
yeah, the finger poke of doom.
Figure and then he finger poke with them. So it's not like he had. You would think if he was that bad, he would have did what Triple H did, where he had the title for fucking ever.
Oh, by the way, speaking of Kevin Nash, what about Kevin Nash as Oz in the Dungeon of Doom?
Oh my god! Didn't we cover Oz and all those terrible Vinny
Uh,
Vegas?
yeah, I'm saying, what about him as Oz in the Dungeon of Doom?
Sure, that would have probably been. That's this type of stuff they were doing with the Yeti and all
Yeah,
these other
right.
motherfuckers. So luckily for him, he was Diesel at the time. In WWE.
Luckily for him.
Yeah, because if he was still in, listen, if he was still in WCW, he probably would have been Oz fighting Hogan and getting squashed.
But I don't know if it was before or after Oz. It might have been before Oz. He had a
Hmm.
shitty tag team gimmick. Him and some other dude
Master
were like,
Blasters.
there you go. Yeah, yeah. They were shitty Road Warrior knockoffs, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The long line of shitty Road Warrior knockoffs.
Yeah. You talk about it. The Road Warriors are a gimmick they will never get over. They'll like never stop trying. They'll never stop trying to redo. Because remember the Ascension? They tried to do the Road
Oh
Warriors
God.
thing.
Well, I also remember the Ascension. Their whole, like their build up when they came in from NXT was that like, hey, we're gonna talk about every tag team we're ripping off. We're gonna talk shit about them.
Terrible.
Like
That
they
was
were
such
even
a
talking
terrible
shit about
idea.
the powers of pain. It's like I did like the power. I will say this: Road Warrior knockoffs. Yes, I did like the powers of pain, and I did like demolition.
Yeah, Demolition. That's probably the only Road Warriors knockoff that was worth a damn to me. Powers of Pain were cool too, but like I really like Demolition.
Well, Sting and Ultimate Warrior were both
Yeah,
Road Warrior knockoffs. They were a tag team at one point
they
called the
were.
Blade Runners.
They were indeed. They were indeed, and that's the kind of infamous. I like the Blade Runners didn't really last long on any major level. I mean, they're just more known for what they did separately. But didn't they like when Ultimate Warrior came to WCW? Did they do a tag team match together?
I don't know if they did. Nah, I don't think they did.
Because that would have been a cool. Even though that Warrior run wasn't that great, but it would just been cool to kind
Yeah,
of
I think I
reunite them.
think he had more. He had more promos than matches at that
Yeah,
point
I
in
remember
WCW. I know that.
that mirror thing where he looked in the.
Oh
What
God.
was it?
Oh yeah, the mirror shit. Yes.
Golly, some of the ideas WCW had.
He used to throw up a bat symbol. I think he used to throw up a bat symbol too.
Did he? He might have.
It had like instead of the bat symbol, it was the shape of the
Yeah,
space
yeah,
game.
yeah.
Some dumb shit like that. It was that was. Wow, that was kind of like the one of the last nails in the coffin for WCW at that point.
Yeah, yeah. As far as them, yeah, because after that, that was like they had like they still existed, but then it started to get really bad. And then by WCW 2000, it was just unwatchable. It's completely unwatchable.
Oh my, it was abysmal.
It's completely
That shit was
unwatchable.
abysmal.
Like no matter, I remember having a WWE network, and I also was subscribed to. I don't know if you know who Dave Meltzer is.
Yeah, of course I know.
Yeah. Of course, everyone knows Dave. Uncle Dave. Yeah, everyone knows him now.
Uncle
Nobody knows him
Dave,
now.
Uncle
Uncle
Dave,
Dave, they call him. But
disapproving Uncle Dave.
disapprove. Well, he approves of everything if it's enough flippy shit. But
Yeah,
actually,
he does love himself some flips
he
and
loves
super
flippy
kicks.
shit and
He loves
super
super
kicks.
kicks too.
But I was he has this like that what is that shit called? I was subbed there for
Wrestling
years.
Observer.
Wrestling Observer Radio. That's what I'm thinking. Wrestling Observer and wrestling because it's a whole site as a bunch of the other podcasters or whatever. And it wasn't really him. It was actually one of the other podcasters, one of Brian Alvarez podcast where they would talk about the old WCW and how bad it was. So that led to me because even with some of the Meltzer radio shows too, people would either like mail in talking about how this is the worst wrestling ever, this is the worst wrestling ever, and they would say no, WCW 2000 was, and I finally watched it. Holy shit! Just like there's still good matches, but if you just pick up just a random Nitro in 2000, it makes no sense. And even if you
Well,
watch the week before, it makes no sense.
I also remember the dying days in WCW was when they started to bring in guys like AJ Styles. I remember
Yep.
AJ Styles was a tag team with this other dude, and they were Air Raid.
Yeah.
Air Raid. And then they brought in this other dude. Um, There was this dude from WCW who I thought I don't know how WWF never picked this fucking guy up. His name was Easy Money in ECW. This
Mm-hmm.
dude was he was like over 6 foot diesel dude that could do like standing moonsaults and shit.
Oh shit! And back then, you did not have motherfuckers who could do that
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
right. And
Yeah.
no one picked this guy up, and then he goes to WCW in their dying days, and like his name is like Jason Jett or something. I also remember like the dying days of WCW was when they brought in the cruiserweight tag team titles, and it's like
Yeah.
you brought in these new titles just so you could do nothing with it. Congratulations! No wonder
Yeah.
you're fucking going under.
Yeah. It's still sad that WCW went under. The wrestling has never recovered.
No, it
AEW
hasn't.
exists. Maybe in 5 or 10 years after they've established some tenure, maybe it'll be a little bit better. If they can last that long, I hope they're profitable and they're just not like at the whims of Tony Khan. Like,
I
I
wanted
mean,
to like
obviously,
AEW. I really wanted to
you
like
and me
AEW.
both. Oh, I tried so hard, and there were parts that I did like. I'm not gonna act like it was all
Yes.
trash. It's just
Yeah. Yes.
there's definitely been good matches and there were good things, but some of the story decisions they made early on, like when I was watching, I just like, man, this is starting to feel weird. And like there
Uh,
are
do,
people who can cut promos, but it just
do
there's
you do you remember before they stopped having audiences where Cody Rhodes was feuding with a new person every week,
yeah,
and it
yeah.
literally was a new person every week?
I do remember that. That was goofy.
Like, are we just trying to make him the most sympathetic character in the history of pro wrestling or some shit?
Yeah, I mean, they booked themselves very terribly.
Yeah.
They just because like
Yeah.
early on they would lose all the time because they didn't want to book them. They didn't want to do what we were talking about with Kevin Nash. But then they went the opposite in the first like 3 or 4 months. Like they just lost every time, but they kept getting TV time and losing. And I'm like, well, what is the point of this? And who are the stars, by the way? Who is the superstar? Just Jericho, and everybody else is just a guy.
Wait,
Okay, I guess I'll
you
keep
mean
watching.
there? Who's all right? When you say who's the stars, who's their own stars or who's renamed stars? Like,
I'm just talking about like how I felt watching their product the first like 3 or 4 months of it, where I'm like who am I supposed to care about was the question
yeah,
I kept
yeah,
asking
yeah,
myself.
yeah.
Outside
They
of
don't they
Jericho,
don't do a very good job of that either. They don't do a very good job of that.
they don't understand like like neither WWE or AEW understands how to write wrestling. They just don't. And I'm
Why
not saying
is that? Why
I
is
don't
that?
know. I don't know. They
Why
they
is it
don't watch.
you have all these minds too there? Like AEW has Jim Ross and Taz and a bunch of guys who went through the who went through the highs of pro wrestling.
I think the issue with AEW, one of the issues with AEW is one of the same issues the whole entertainment industry has, and that is Twitter. And I think AEW more than the entertainment industry, they're one of the few people that use Twitter to make money because that's how the Young Bucks. That's the only reason AEW exists is because of Twitter. Is because of the Young Bucks using Twitter and Cody and everybody when they were the Bullet Club using Twitter in order to get themselves popular enough to create this whole organization. So as a result, they feed into Twitter a lot more than they should, and so they don't. Their basis is just jacked up. Like
It also doesn't hurt that they had the ear of a millionaire, like a billionaire. Sorry,
billion, yeah, billion.
a billionaire and his son.
And I feel like they just try to be marks. They're just they're wrestling nerds, and they just want to be marks, and they just want to be like. It's like God damn it! How do y'all realize millions of people used to watch wrestling? Do y'all realize that'll never happen again because you
Remember,
guys just think it's the two people on Twitter?
remember when wrestling used to slaughter Monday Night Football in the ratings?
Yes, Slaughter. Like they had no chance. They were trying Dennis Miller and
No
all sorts of
chance.
stuff. Yeah, no chance. That's what you got. No chance. And I mean, it was like okay, Monday Night Raw, Monday Nitro, then Monday Night Football, and that's just how it was.
All
And
right,
that's
what
not
I
gonna.
did like about Nitro was they at least were nice enough to have a replay right after the show was over. Raw
Yeah,
never
that
did.
was cool.
Raw never fucking did that. I was like, why don't you do that?
Yeah, that did suck. But I definitely like doing that. And honestly, it made it easier to kind of watch both shows if you. But I
Yeah,
would always fall
yeah,
asleep during Nitro's replay.
it definitely did though. It definitely made it easier.
Yeah. But why can't they write wrestling now? I feel like each company is missing a different fundamental on how wrestling is supposed to work. Like at its core, it's two people fighting or play fighting, and so
Choreographed fighting, just like
it's
an action
choreographed
movie.
fighting. Yes, action movie, and so you have to make this feel like it's a you have to in my head when I'm watching a wrestling match, I'm watching something that's supposed to be real, and everybody in it is acting as if it's real. There's no winks at the camera. You may see things that are obviously not. You may see like an undead zombie winning the championship or something, but it's still
Or somebody does the worm as a finishing move.
yeah. But that's and you're like, well, that's not real. But in the same way, that's supposed to be in the same way that Iron Man shooting a blaster out of his arm
Yeah,
cannot
yeah,
really happen.
yeah.
It's that's how you're supposed to make it. That's the
It
unreality is supposed to still be within a
it
believability.
it's Van Damme jumping up and doing a spin kick and knocking out four people at once.
Yeah.
It's the same type of shit where you see from a movie. Wrestling is, or if you're a wrestler, you're two things. You're two fucking things. You're an actor, man, all rolled up into one. You just
Yep.
gotta fucking, you just gotta work at those two things. You're an actor
But
and you're a stuntman. You're two
yes.
things. You just gotta work at both of them.
And at its core, the thing is wrestling forgets that like you're not supposed to tell us we're watching a movie. We're supposed to
Yeah,
just be in
yeah,
the movie.
yeah. Exactly.
Let us be in the movie. I was talking on my stream, and Storyman Jack was talking about how when he watches movies, he's in them. You know what I mean? And you get taken away in a good movie, you're in it, and you're just observing, and you're part of it. Like he's talking about watching Star Wars, and he's like, "I'm Luke Skywalker." I remember when I was a kid watching Back to the Future. I'm Marty McFly. You know what I mean? You can't lose yourself in a modern wrestling match
I
because
never actually personally felt that I
yeah,
was a character in a movie, but I know people do that, but I
yeah.
never
Or
personally did that. But I'm
I
saying, like,
usually don't.
you know,
Certain characters do or games, but just even if you don't feel like you're the character, I get lost in movies and I'm just like I forget. Like I'm just so engaged in the story. I'm just trying to see what happens with the story. When's the last time that happened with a wrestling story? An engaging, like every part of it is it's an action movie. You have to have a good plot and good action scenes. It's really simple.
you also have to have good writers behind it.
Yeah, you have to have really good writers, and I think they're just not.
They don't let
You
them
need,
cut loose like they used to let them back in the day. They don't let them
yeah,
cut loose on the mic. When
that's a
everyone
huge part of it
when
too.
when everyone would cut loose on the mic, that's what made it interesting. And that's like when you say to yourself, watching as a fan, like, oh, I want to see this guy get the shit kicked out of him, or say, oh, I want to see this guy kick the shit out of that guy. Like, like,
Yeah, there's no anticipate. Another thing,
no,
there's
it's
a lot
not.
of things.
Especially when you have the when people like Big Show and Mark Henry and Kane, like when you have guys like Jericho, like how many times Randy Orton, they switch from face to heel, face to heel. They do that shit over and over again. It's like, why do you constantly do that? Even Daniel Bryan was going through that for a little bit,
A little bit, but yeah,
going face to heel.
yeah. And another thing that you had brought up earlier, and I think this is huge. Every wrestler wrestling alike is so massive. Like the difference in styles was so much a part of the draw to see. Oh, what's going to happen when this guy faces that guy? What's going to happen when Undertaker faces Bret Hart? I remember that. Like, man, what the fuck is going to happen? You just like didn't know what would happen because the
Yeah,
styles were so different,
yeah.
and it ends up good.
And by the way, Undertaker, I'll say that's the best big man wrestler of all time.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll say he's the best big man wrestler of all time.
Yeah, I would say that I would agree 1,000%, and I mean, with a bullet to me. And I don't care. I don't care if there's some big guy right now. I like what's my man who can do like bask in his glory. I can't think of his name. Oh, he's in NXT. Maybe he's in WWE now. I forgot.
Keith Lee.
Keith Lee, because he's big. He can do a lot of flips and shit, and he's cool. I really like him, man.
Yeah, but
Fucking
is he?
Undertaker.
He's not like Undertaker big, right?
No, he's
He's
not
not
that
like.
tall. He's more of a big kind of. He's like 6'2", I guess, but he's more of a kind
But
of fat muscle guy.
Keith Lee, to me, he kind of looks like the Black Dusty Rhodes.
A
Like
little.
even his face, his face is kind of Dusty Rhodes looking.
Like Dusty Rhodes. He's in. Well, I haven't seen him recently, so I don't know if he's in
I
better
mean,
shape.
don't
I
get
don't
me
know if
wrong. That dude's a thousand times more athletic than Dusty
athletic. Yeah,
Rhodes.
yeah, yeah. But let me see. Yeah, he does kind of have a Dusty Rhodes look because he had looking at his face. I guess he's been off TV looking at it.
And I
One
like
day I'll stand on.
I like Dusty Rhodes too. Dusty Rhodes back in the
Yeah.
day. I did like Dusty Rhodes.
So he's not on W. I just looked him up. Apparently, he's not been on WWE TV for a while.
I think he's injured. I think he's injured.
Well, I guess he tweeted a few days ago. One day I'll explain it all. So I don't know what that means. That's weird.
Huh, I thought they said he was injured or something.
Um,
So also you have no road wear and tear, and you would think like going on the road and going through the hotels and the airport, and then you got to go get ready for the match. You go to the gym and like
yeah.
You would think that being in a secluded area, that shit like that would be a little bit less common.
Yeah, you think there'd be way less injuries and way less I remember just hearing podcasts. A lot of wrestlers say, "Man, you have more injuries sitting in that car driving
Yeah,
for 5 hours and then going to the gym, then doing like of course your back's gonna be fucked up. You know what I mean?
moving through the airport.
Moving through the airport, drive for 2 hours, get on a plane, go somewhere else, drive for another 2 hours, take a nap at a hotel, get up, go to the gym. Like that's not and doing that like 100, 200, 300 days a year. Like no, you of course you're gonna be fucked up.
Yeah, you're now you're kind of just in a bubble because you just have to go. Are
Go to
they
the
doing?
gym.
Are they doing anything other than Florida soon? I don't know if they're
I don't
doing
know what
anything
they're
other than
doing.
Florida soon.
Tennis elbow. Jen says, Jen, I think you may be watching the product a little more closely than we are. I'm not sure what WWE is doing.
Um, I watched the last pay per view. I didn't see. I don't see any of the weekly shows. Like I said, I just
Hmm.
watched the pay per views at my friend's house.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Maura, thank you for putting the stream out.
Yeah. Cool.
I always appreciate that.
And to kind of tie things together, I was I was looking up action figures. And I was looking up this one toy company who makes these soft. I have my mask off, so I can't really show it. Let me see if I can show it without exposing myself. No, I'll just put it on real quick. So these stupid action figures I have, this figure toy company, to tie everything at, and hopefully you don't see the little thing in my hand. But yeah, these type of companies, they're made by this figure toy company. These type of action figures. So this same company, ironically enough, makes AEW action figures. I'm looking when I just clicked on Amazon and looked on their thing because I'm kind of like I don't know multitasking. I keep looking at these damn action figures to blow stimulus money I don't have and need to put on other things. But apparently they
So
make AEW action figures.
those ones are kind of like. Have you ever seen the '70s ones, the Mego
Yeah,
ones?
that's what they're trying to emulate. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Those are
they
cool.
also
I kind of dig those.
yeah I do
I
too.
had a really fucked. I had a really fucked up creature from the Black Lagoon one back in the day.
Oh
Like it was
wow,
like missing it. It was missing a leg, but it still had the jumpsuit. You know how all of them come with jumpsuits and shit.
yeah. Now I'm looking. Why are wrestling action figures so expensive on Amazon? Some of these things are crazy. So this AEW action figure came out in January for John Moxley, and it's like maybe it's just the fan base, but it's like $90. You fucking kidding me?
The fucking yeah, the action figure game is really fucked up these days.
I mean, I know it's fucked up, but I mean, like, I'm not paying. If I get paid $90 or $100 for an action figure, god damn it, that's scoped in the
Like
fucking like I know.
you get people who swoop in from the get go of release day and
Yep.
swipe up all of one fucking particular, and that's it. And
Yeah,
that's
and it's
it.
not. I guess it's not just AEW. It happened with the fucking Undertaker, the Mask action figure. What the fuck? This is why everything sucks. This I was talking this with my brother about the PlayStations and the fucking graphics cards and shit. You can't get them anywhere. Like there's so much shit you just can't get because of bullshit like this. Oh, these fucking bots come in and just fuck up everything, or just scalper type people buy 100
The,
copies of something and it's just all fucked up and disappear forever.
the first thing I learned about this type of thing was because it was because of GI Joe figures, and
Mm-hmm.
it's because They have they have figures that they're supposed to be armies of people, and then they have figures that is just supposed to be one single person, right? So like they had the characters, the Vipers. They had like insert name before here Viper, like Saw Viper, Laser Viper, Range Viper, Old
Yeah.
Viper, like shit like that. And people ended up taking uh, certain Vipers and buying all of them up and like taking pictures and like, hey, here's my Viper collection. It's like,
Mm.
and all the prices on those GI Joe figures ended up going up in price because of the army building people.
Jesus. People fuck up everything. The same thing happened to like keyboards and instruments and shit. The same thing happens to everything that you like. If other people like it, they'll overprice it by their stupidity. And part of it is just like the well, I mean, when you talk about some GI Joes and stuff like that, it's were these like classic figures or like modern figures?
The well, the classic GI Joes are the big ones with
Yeah, the big
with
one
the
from the
clothes,
70s.
like with the clothes, like the Batman figure you have, where they have like
Yeah,
actual cloth. It was the early '80s when they started remaking them, but the GI Joes were small action figure size.
yeah, yeah. I remember those style. I remember both style, but yeah, the clothes style, the classic. I wonder if the clothes make it more expensive. Maybe.
Oh, probably
Uh,
also the how much older they are.
oh yeah, no, I'm talking about for
Those
these
are
modern figures. But yeah,
uh,
obviously the age and the availability adds a lot to it as well.
wait here. Hang on one second. I'll bring up the GI Joe figure right now.
Right.
Yeah,
Shit, it
these
says for
ones.
$100, but it clean up and wash.
These
Okay,
ones.
yeah, I remember those. I remember those. So those have gone up in price too,
Yeah. Yes.
because those used to be readily available in the '90s. Like you had those were everywhere. You can go to Kmart,
And yeah, it was like the most you would find these on the rack for was like
$6 maybe.
$4.99.
Yeah, usually four.
The
Yeah, usually
most.
$5,
The
four ninety
most.
nine. Yeah, because sometimes you can get them for three on sale and shit. God, inflation sucks.
Yeah, this guy's dope too.
Yeah, because that stock there was quite a few um quite a few different figures. Like I remember they had Mortal Kombat figures in that exact same style in the '90s.
They
That same form factor.
Hasbro started releasing them and Street Fighter ones at the
Yep,
same time, I
yep,
think.
yep, yep, yep. They did have those Street Fighter ones. Same type of form factor. Same. I liked it. I liked that form because they were very posable. You could twist the wrist all the way around. They had like a little elastic thing so they could kind of stretch a little bit. So
Yeah,
for
but some of them looked stupid. Some of them looked stupid.
yeah, yeah. I guess I'm thinking of from like a actual kid playing with toys
Yeah, I
perspective,
know.
not knowing they were
Yeah.
awesome for me at 8, 9, and whatever.
Although I did end up getting later on through eBay. They did these uh, X-Men versus Street Fighter figures.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Toy Biz was putting these shits out, and they had it was like dual packs. Like you buy the two figure set. Like one of them is a Capcom figure, one of them is a Marvel figure. It was Dawson and Juggernaut. They're
Oh,
around here
really?
somewhere.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy that like if you pay attention to action figures, they're re-releasing a lot of action figures again that were
Yeah,
available in the '90s. Like I know that
Yeah,
like a lot of my Batman animated series figures have been re-released from when I was a kid,
I
and
was
now they're like
I was talking.
30, $40.
You know Tommy,
If Tommy, yeah, yeah, he's I've seen him around. Yeah, yeah, I met him at
the
yours.
guinea pig, the guinea pig collective.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, uh, yeah. He's swimming in action figures right now.
Really,
Yeah,
man.
he had to do something with his house after his dad passed, and he's still cleaning
Uh,
out a bunch of stuff there. Shout out to Tommy
uh,
if he's listening right now.
Shout out to Tommy. And hey, if you're looking to get rid of any of those things, man, let me know. And I mean, we can talk about. I don't know what he has that he'd be willing to sell, but I may be willing to buy it depending on what it is.
Well, he was also
Uh,
saying that he was getting all those getting a bunch of those retro figures. Like
uh,
they even had like the old Toy Biz X-Men ones,
I saw those. Yeah.
the redos of them.
Hmm.
They were like redoing them. Yeah, yeah.
It just pisses me off because of how much. Like, okay, for a Toy Biz X Men, is this a new version? I'm on Amazon looking up the Toy Biz X Men, and I I don't know if these are like the remakes. No, this 92 no longer produced. There's a deluxe edition Magneto for $90, but I think that's from the era, like from the 90s. So I don't know. I think these might be the 90s versions. I don't think these are any redos. Lord, everything's overpriced. It's
Again,
just
you collect action figures of them swords?
yeah. That would be cool. Jens, how do you find cheap action figures that are cool? Because they're overpriced. Everything's overpriced. Everything's fucking.
Everything is over. Even the new stuff. Even the new
Because
stuff is overpriced.
they'll
At
fucking
least the old.
retail.
But I'm saying I'll give the old stuff credit for being overpriced because it's old stuff.
Yeah, I get it. I get why me buying something 20, 30 years old that's in good condition costs so much. Fair. But if I buy something for 2 years ago or last year or this year or earlier this year, then it's, oh, well, sold
Yeah.
out. Motherfucker, are you
Yes. Yeah.
serious?
Exactly. It's scumbag shit.
It's scum. And that you're what they're doing, they're creating false scarcity. That's what the fuck they're doing with everything. They're creating false scarcity. You'll make something and you'll not make enough of them intentionally. They have a high retail, so all these products new that you remaking a $5 product from the 90s, and now you're charging $30, $40 for it, just new out the box, and then you only make enough so a bunch of scammers can get them, and then resell them to everybody for like 80. And it's like fuck this.
Who makes the WWE figures these days?
I don't
I
know who
know it's
makes
not
them.
Jack specific. I know it's not Jack specific anymore.
Yeah, unfortunately, they were kind of a
I think
classic.
I think it's a bigger company. Is it Mattel? Or
Uh,
whatever Mattel. If it's Mattel that makes their if it's Mattel that makes their things, you should make a Dungeon of Doom set. They
yeah,
should make an
just
entire two 4-pack figures. Where you, or maybe wait, it was 20 something members.
yeah, it is
Make a bunch
Mattel
of
that
four
makes them.
pack. They should do nothing but make Dungeon of Doom figures from now on.
Yeah. I wonder if you can get the Dungeon of Doom, like, or do any of those action figures outside of like Big Show exist. But yeah,
Well,
Mattel makes them.
you could yeah you could collect the different figures and make your own Dungeon of Doom, I guess.
Okay, I'm gonna get off Amazon now because I would have spent I could have spent like 300-400 on action figures without trying, and I gotta stop because amongst a lot of this overpriced stuff, you do see like there was a Ricky the Dragon Steamboat action figure for $20. I'm like, oh, I could get that. Like, no, I can't. I cannot get it. I gotta. I'm just exiting out of all the tabs. I'm just gonna
Which which
stop.
uh which version of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was it?
It had the
It wasn't him with the
Intercontinental.
dragon gear. Okay, it wasn't him
Yeah,
when he
see,
had the dragon fins.
no, not with It's him with the like the gi and the IC
Yeah,
title,
yeah, yeah. Okay.
but it looks like a cloth gi, like we were
Yeah, a
talking
lot of
about
them had
cloth.
that. Yeah, a
Yeah,
lot of them had that.
so yeah, it looks kind of cool. But again, the starting price is $20. If I don't get it now, I'm sure in a few months it might be a $70 figure. So that's how I go. Oh, and if you just don't get it, you gotta wait like 8 years for it to be reproduced. Everything has become shoes. Everything. They've taken the Jordan mentality to things thanks to StockX. And now every single thing is like false scarcity, overprice it because people will pay.
You're kind of right with the yeah, they Jordanized everything.
Yeah, they made everything the Jordans.
Jordanizations.
Yeah, because same thing is with these fucking. If you want a video card, they retail at like $600, but if you want to find it, it's like $2,000. Like, well, fuck this.
When
Just make more video
remember,
cards.
I remember being in Manhattan when I was a messenger, one of my crappy messenger jobs in Manhattan, and there were people camping out for the new Wii.
Yeah,
They were like, legit camping out for a couple days online for the new Wii that was coming out.
yeah,
I would never ever be that person.
yeah.
I also remember when people were getting robbed at gunpoint for the opening PlayStation days.
I
I
remember that
remember the
too.
people. I was on my way to my car, and someone came at me with a gun and was like, "Give me your PlayStation." Oh yeah, it wasn't an isolated incident either. This wasn't just
No, it
one
was
thing. This
on a
was
regular
yeah,
basis.
it was happening. Yes, humanity, everybody. Isn't it
Humanity
wonderful?
sucks.
Isn't it wonderful?
It really does suck.
But
Yeah,
all right. I won't keep you much longer. If
yeah,
you want to bounce,
yeah. I am starting to fade a little bit, man.
yeah,
I
yeah.
appreciate it though.
Any, any, any closing statements on
Well,
the entire Dungeon of Doom thing?
kind of glad to go back down memory lane. It's been pretty cool, and with the Dungeon of Doom, you see a lot of the worst of wrestling in the Dungeon of Doom. Like you see a lot of just bad, like it almost the Dungeon of Doom almost seems like a warning for what we have now. Bad wrestling, no real plan, a solid idea executed poorly, um, over reliance over one top star, not building anybody. Any guy like with the Giant, he did win a title the first day, but then they screw it up, brother. So then when you get somebody who is talented, you don't really push them right. It's literally just like a microcosm for what wrestling is. So it's kind of it is a good thing to kind of look back on. And then if you do have a gimmick, putting 1,000 people in the stable, and it's just the same thing we saw over and over and over again after this. You know what I mean? Even great stuff like the NWO, they put trillion people in the stable, they divided it and just made it silly.
DX.
DX, which was, I mean, at least DX didn't get as bad, but it went on too long and it came back too many times. And um, it's just, and then when you talk about just having no plan, I mean, that's how to me both wrestling organizations, especially WWE, and I
No,
mean,
they just can't. as successful as they were at one point, it seems kind of like this, especially WCW. Like they just started coasting. Like
Yes.
why? Why coast? They
Yeah.
should have just kept. They should have just kept Goldberg as their monster champion for at
Yeah.
least another for at least another year.
Yeah. Or I don't think, you know what? If they would have not done the finger poke of doom, which was stupid, he could have like lost it and then won it back against somebody and then
Yeah,
held it
yeah,
for like a long, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But just he's
yeah,
the main guy because they
yeah.
even after like they beat him and then they never really pushed him quite as well. Did
No,
he ever win the title back?
I think he did, but it was too late at that point. For
And
the
part of
company,
it,
I think it was. Well, everything after that point, anyway, was too late.
yeah, that was the end of that was the end of the finger poke of doom was the end of WCW. That was it. That was I remember that moment. I remember watching that night because it's the same night Mick Foley won the title. They do the
Yeah, I
finger
watched
poke of
that
doom.
too, but I didn't end up seeing the Nick Foley thing because I think I was watching it on my couch. I fell asleep
Uh,
after the finger poke of doom.
they do the finger poke of doom. They say Mick Foley that'll put butts in the seats. We actually turn over. I remember anticipating and waiting and waiting and waiting. I was so geeked when they said Mankind will win the title because I didn't expect that, and he didn't even have a match that night. At that point in the night, and so I'm like, how's he going to win the fucking title? And then he gets a match, and then it happens, and it's like the coolest thing on earth. And they WCW literally set it up. It was really
All right.
cool. All
So
right.
after all this, we could agree that Mick Foley probably would have been the best candidate to be in the Dungeon of Doom, right? Like,
Yeah, I
right?
think
Would
he
you say
he would
Mick
have been
Foley?
perfect. He'd have been perfect for the Dungeon of Doom, as Cactus Jack or as Mankind, as the original Mankind would have worked as well. But not Dude Love, not Mick Foley, Mankind,
Nah,
Psycho
yeah, yeah.
Mankind. That wouldn't have
Nah,
worked. But
definitely not. No, no way.
no, no. Dude Love would have actually been interested in WCW though, with the Disco Inferno and all those other type of gimmicks they
I,
had.
I I hated that Dude Love gimmick so bad. Oh
Uh,
god, I hated that shit.
it would have probably worked
I
better
hated
at
that shit so
WCW
bad.
now because I'm thinking all the cool weird
Especially around
gimmicks.
that time, right? Because
He didn't fit.
WCW Cactus Jack, WCW Cactus Jack is very overlooked because
Yeah,
WCW Cactus Jack was he didn't give a fuck about himself.
no,
That
no,
guy, and he wasn't Mick Foley at that time. He was
no. He was
Cactus Jack.
Cactus Jack. Dude Love would have worked in WCW probably better than WWE because like WCW had all those weird gimmicks too. They had like Disco Inferno,
Yeah, yeah.
Norman Smiley. What's the dancing
I hated Norman
Alex?
Smiley.
What's
Yeah,
his
Das Wonder
Das
Kid.
Das Wonder Kid? Yeah, the guy danced. They had all these weird kind of quirky gimmicks. Even Jericho had a quirky gimmick a little bit. So Dude Love would have fit that type of stuff because in WWE he really was. I didn't really. He had a cool match with Stone Cold, but like I didn't really like Dude Love that much.
No, I didn't like it because we already saw him as what he was.
Yeah, like I said, he has the one. He has the one tag team when he comes out as Dude Love. That's okay, and then he has a match when he's a heel and he fights Austin, and he's going. They basically do Austin. He goes through the faces of Foley, and that's okay. Um,
Do you
but
remember when he came into the Rumble as all three of them?
I do remember that. I do
He got
remember.
he got eliminated 3 times.
Yes. Yeah. That's pretty shitty that he didn't win. Like, or at least become one of the final four. He
But
wasn't
I'm
able to
saying,
fight.
like, what would have happened if he would have lasted to the end as the first character he came in as? Like,
Yeah, he couldn't have did the other ones. So yeah, but that would have been cool if like like he would have came in, or he could have came in 4 times. He could have came in as all of them, and then the last time as Mick
and then
Foley.
as Mick Foley,
Yeah, yeah.
and he wins the Rumble as Mick
And
Foley.
Yeah, that would have been a kind of a cool gimmick if they would have thought like that. I mean, obviously, it's probably better to just book Stone Cold. Steve Austin is the champion. Uh, but yeah, that would have been cool if they did that. But it is what it is. But yeah, I'm about to get out of here. I could probably go on
Yeah.
my own wrestling. Let me know the next time. I love these streams, man. They're super fun.
Well, I like these worst of the worst things, but I don't want to keep just doing it just about wrestling. I just
Okay.
I need to think about other.
Worst. How about worst animated shows from when we were kids?
I was thinking along the lines of that. I think the next one I might want to do is worst of the worst comic book characters, like
Mm.
when it comes to villains and heroes, like worst of the worst that you could remember.
Captain Marvel,
I'll have to think.
like that. Captain Marvel,
See,
Kamala Khan.
I don't remember her because I don't remember. I didn't read those comics. I
Well,
just
all I can
know
think of are
everyone bitching
modern
about them.
characters. Yeah, like all the well, she's a modern. Like she wasn't Captain Marvel back then. She was Miss Marvel back then. She didn't become Captain Marvel until maybe 10 years ago,
Yeah, I know.
whatever it was. I mean, maybe a little longer, but whenever it was that they did that, so she was Miss Marvel. So I mean, everybody liked Miss. Well, the most important thing Miss Marvel did was get almost killed by Rogue. Let's be honest, but
All
she
right.
was hot.
Well, I'm just thinking along these lines. It's like just think back to like 80s, 90s, 70s,
Hmm.
60s
Like classic
characters.
characters that sucked. All
All right.
right,
All right.
all right.
Before we drop out, can you look up one thing?
Yeah.
Look up Calendar Man.
I feel like I heard of this Calendar Man guy. Yeah, well, I know Calendar Man from the Long Halloween, but I because he's a character. It's a Batman
Yeah.
arc
Yeah.
graphic novel, but he's done kind of seriously in there.
Yeah.
He's
And
not
just
like a
look at original Calendar Man.
yeah original Calendar Man is not serious. So like let me see if I can get them back to back because that would kind of exemplify the difference. Like the long, because you know how Batman is. Like everything's all dark and moody.
Uh huh.
So let me
Yeah.
get a. So like
Yeah.
he's a serial killer looking motherfucker in the Long Halloween. Um, and but as the original, he's like this goofy calendar man, as you would think.
Literally
Like
a calendar. He literally is a calendar.
so, there we go.
He's a calendar. He has a calendar on his back.
Yeah, this guy. I'm sharing that calendar man.
I know. I
So
got
yeah, this is Calendar Man. The Long Halloween version is all. He's still kind of weird, but he's like a serial killer. He's like Silence of the Lambs. I can't
Yeah,
think of
that's
it.
yeah. I saw that version, but I didn't read the comics. But this is Calendar Man that I know
Yeah, yeah,
with a
that's the
fucking
OG one
calendar
from.
on his back.
He's angry though. He's pissed. I don't know at what.
He is
Yeah.
at the year.
Well, yeah, I'm pissed at the year too. Oh, they have a fat one. Look at this guy. Oh, fat and moody looking. He looks all like neck beardy. Like he looks
Was this
down on
from a
you, even though
Justice
he's
League cartoon that I?
no. This is
Was this from
from
a Justice
the
League
Harley
cartoon I
Quinn.
missed?
No, this is from the
Oh,
modern. I don't know if you've seen. They got like a Harley Quinn cartoon they have out. They got Lego figs. So this is other depictions. He looks kind of homeless in this one. What's going on here? So yeah, the hell's going on here?
okay.
That's
I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie. These pictures of that Calendar Man I remember are better than the old pictures of Calendar Man,
yeah.
like 70s or 80s Calendar Man.
So apparently they've used them recently. These are like some kid stuff. This is Look, who the fuck is this guy? Time guy? Who the fuck is he?
Oh wait,
Oh,
I knew this dude's name. I knew this dude's name. I can't remember his name though.
I was hard on
Oh
Big.
shit.
Whoa. Look at this accidental, you know how comics sometimes have things and they don't realize what they're saying. And he says, "Yep, I was hard on Big, sir." So there you go. Who is this guy? Hopefully, I don't get a virus
Yeah,
looking at this.
I
Oh, you know, I
I
shouldn't
can't
do that
think of
just in
this
case it's some
contact.
porn or some shit. Um, I don't know who this clock motherfucker is, but he had a big heart on apparently. So there's that.
I also
And
saw there's
apparently,
this guy called I also saw this there's this guy called the Phone Ranger. I wish I could find a comic of this guy. This dude is literally like an old school phone.
yeah.
Like, oh yeah, yeah.
How did this
Oh my
character get
god,
made?
he's a phone.
See, this just shows you, like, we talk about these woke SJWs, how terrible they are. But terrible material predates wokeness by a lot. Because, like, A.G. Bell, Alexander Graham Bell, oh my God. How did this get granted? Who's out there with this? Like,
He's a phone.
when you come up with this gimmick, just don't do it. You should know it's bad. Like how did everybody say, yeah, we're going to do Phone Man or the Phone Ranger? I guess maybe they thought it was cute or a joke. And
Or
all this aside,
he was too high on he was too high on cocaine before he needed a deadline for a new character. And
maybe
he's like, "Fuck it, Phone Ranger."
too many too many
But yeah, I was
telephones
kind
have died today. The Phone Ranger is here to avenge
of
them.
I was kind of thinking that look up characters like that, and
Yeah.
do another
Yeah.
worst of the worst, but with a non wrestling related
All right.
thing behind it. Because I could do worst of the worst wrestling things forever. Just come up with a different
Yeah.
subject.
Okay. I'm down.
And
I'm
I don't
down.
want to keep. And I don't want to keep doing that.
Yeah, I'm down.
But
But
thank you, Vigilante. I appreciate you coming through with it.
yeah, I appreciate you having
Go
me.
go.
And the phone ranger will disconnect you, Jens. I like that. Yeah. All right, man.
Yeah, Phone
I'm
Ranger.
I'm about to get out of here. I'm
Yeah,
not
you
sure. Were
guys
you going to still
plug your
go?
channel.
Oh
Nah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah. If you haven't subbed to me, my name's Vigilante Williamson. I talk crap like everyone else on YouTube. So yeah, I think Jens. I'm not sure if Jens is subbed, but if you haven't subbed, Jens, I'd appreciate you if you did. But if you don't want to, that's cool too. Because life is short. You gotta do what you want. Do what you want when you can. Because New York Christmas gifts. Yeah.
Resolute Germ,
El
Moira,
Resolute Jar, Moira, games,
Jens,
movies, and comics are us.
yes, games, movies, and comics.
And anyone else who may have been lurking, because there's always someone lurking.
Yes,
Thank you for
but
thank you for paying attention to us ramble. So peace.
let me get rid of that. And
All right.
back another time with another worst of the worst. Well, I'll come up with something.
Okay, Jens, we'll sub. Thank you, Jens. I appreciate it.
All right. Later, everybody.
All right, peace.